My goddamn cat in the background. Every time I record lately, I got this cat moaning for food right in the background as I'm recording. Just, I even fed the cat before recording. I think she knows, and she's trying to ruin my videos. Why, hello there. It is 205 days until Elden Ring comes out on January 21st, 2022. And this is the Elden Wait. Today we will be talking about the announcement trailer from E3 2019. And what I wanted to do was watch through the announcement trailer, but do it with the knowledge from the gameplay trailer and what we've learned recently from Miyazaki's interviews. Now that we have some information to just look at it with fresh eyes, more informed eyes, and golden eyes, if you will. So let's just dive right into the trailer. I have taken 0 notes. This is purely off of the fact that I spend every day thinking about Elden Ring that I probably don't even need them, but just in case I miss anything, feel free to leave a note in the comments because I'm just diving in. All right, so I'll be pausing and stuff. So, we got the blacksmith. We call him the blacksmith, but it's like this potential tree spirit person hammering. And not to start off with something we have no clue about, but the gameplay trailer did not let us know. Is this blacksmith guy / lady, is this Marika? Is this the greater will? We know that all this stuff is not something that From Software made. Digic made this for them, so this is probably I think it means they likely don't have assets for it in the game, so this may be the sole representation we get of this because this place and these people don't exist in this current form in the game, so this was something they could farm out to someone else. And if we look, it looks tree-like in there, and we've been over this before with Digic, the concept art. It looks like this is inside a tree. Is this the Erd tree? That would make sense. Could this be deep underground, at the core of the Erd tree? We know that this person is taking a scepter and they're smashing it against a dais. We know that of the ruler that there's Queen Marika, the Eternal, who rules over. There's also as another source of power, the Elden Ring, which is the source of the Erd tree. And so what could this represent knowing that information? And I'm not totally sure, and I'm not going to try to make a conclusion based on that, but if we're just spitballing and thinking about what's potentially happening here, is this could be the destruction of the Elden Ring. I know I rallied against that as this thing, but I don't know what else could be going on here. If it's, the scepter as this symbol of, sovereignty, is a symbol of the ability to rule and just smashing it. We don't know what we've only know that Queen Marika the Eternal is the ruler over the lands between, and the demigods who, have the great runes that are the shattered pieces of the Elden Ring are her offspring. But we don't know much about her, and we don't know much about the greater will, which means if I'm going to make a connection, it might mean that this is some sort of representation. But we don't know, is she still ruling over the lands between? We don't really know what Marika is doing after the shattering. So, it's hard to tell. But those are potential options. This could be Marika. This could be some representation of the greater will. The scepter could be the power of the Elden Ring. It could be Marika's sovereignty. I don't really know, but that's what we have to work with right now. Yep, directed by Miyazaki, and we got George R. R. Martin in here, who, he did a lot of this mythological background, so a lot of this is probably George R. R. Martin stuff. And so we got Arms Guy. Is this Arms Guy the same Arms Guy who we see in the gameplay trailer? Well, he's got a lot of arms, just like Arms Guy. He's got a similar green cloak. His crown is a little different, but, with these sort of CG things, there are differences that change. Like, we all know that, like, Yorm in Dark Souls 3 looks different in game than in the CG trailer. Aldrich looks different too. It's just like things do change. So it's little differences might be nitpicking in a way that, is leading it astray. It might not mean anything beyond the fact that this was done earlier when maybe people look different. But there is a chance that this is someone else. But I would say that it is likely the Arms dude. And it is interesting here because was he already doing this stuff before the shattering? Or is this everything we're seeing here post the shattering? Does that mean the hammering is, that we just talked about, is that also post the shattering? What is that scepter that person is holding, and why are they smashing it against the dais? I still don't know, but it's just an interesting timeline because we know that when the demigods got the great runes, they got these strange abilities and powers, and it sort of drove them mad, and that's what, caused war and all these problems. So I wonder here, does this mean that this weird arm stuff was happening before the shattering? Or is this scene taking place after a great rune has been acquired, which makes it possible to do all this weird stuff? And, I'm not sure. And do I think I'm not 100% convinced that this person or the many arms guy is 100% a demigod. He could be, but he doesn't, there's a few things. One, they don't have golden eyes, which you would think perhaps if anyone was going to have golden eyes after the shattering, it would be those holding a piece, a great rune. But because, the aura seems to have been gone from a lot of people. In the gameplay trailer, we don't see many people with golden eyes, but supposedly people in the lands between are supposed to have golden eyes, and it's the very fact that the Tarnished lost that golden aura that they were exiled. But then in the gameplay trailer, most people have like these dead corpse eyes, which could lead to, maybe these people were dead and they came back to life. Maybe they died and they did not die. They should have died, but they kept going. I don't know what all of that means for sure. But that is to say, the many arms guy in the gameplay trailer also has those dead eyes and not those golden eyes. And we don't get to see this person's eyes here. I think this probably is the many arms guy, aka 11 Queen, whatever you want to call him. But I'm still not 100% convinced that this is a demigod. This could just be an important person in the world, a player in the world doing some weird stuff. Making arms twitch.
I doubt you could even imagine it.
And it seems like probably speaking to a Tarnished there.
That which commanded the sky.
They doubt you could even imagine it because your ancestors were exiled from the lands between as the Tarnished were exiled. And the player character is a descendant of those Tarnished. So, never saw the Elden Ring in its complete form. Never saw the lands between when it was being graced by the greater will and the power of the Elden Ring at full capacity. And so here, I'll back up. So here we have the scepter being smashed against the dais and pieces coming off. So regardless, we might not know the details, but it's clear that in the world of Elden Ring, there's a power struggle and that, stuff's not going well, and that there's the War of the Shattering, and there's people vying for power, using the Great Runes, probably not any good, driving them mad. So the fact that we know that now, the idea of a symbol of power being destroyed is not surprising. And the fact that you're going to the Lands Between to become an Elden Lord and to brandish the power of the Elden Ring seems in line with that.
That which commanded the skies, giving life its fullest brilliance.
And blessing in the Lands Between. So now we have the Valkyrie, and we saw her in the gameplay trailer. The fact that she is here in what is seemingly the Lands Between means I do not think she is tarnished. Otherwise, she would have been exiled and she wouldn't be here during the war that is the Shattering. And she seems to be part of this. So I know I've seen, just various, is she a demigod? Is she another tarnished? Because we know we'll meet many other tarnished on the journey. I would say it's more likely that she's a demigod than a tarnished. But I am still thinking that she is not a demigod. Not for any particular reason. I think my bias is just hoping that they hold back on showing some of like the main six. And she seems to be important, but I don't know that there's anything to say she's definitely one of the 6 demigods.
The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring.
And just to go back for a second, stuff we already know about, but we saw in the gameplay trailer she still has that skin condition, and that probably has to do with the idea of growth and decay, life and death being sort of broken. If you want some more talk about that, I have my video about it's the Hunt episode 4, and I talk about trees and all that stuff that represents, and I get into a little bit more about the idea of growth and decay being broken. And I think that might be what we're seeing here, and I think that's why some people are thinking maybe she's a tarnished is that skin condition. But I think that may also be the fact that like reality is not working right since the Elden Ring was shattered. So this would lead me to think that this is during the shattering the war, and the Elden Ring has already been shattered. The sky is burning, as we will hear, and I think that takes on new significance now. But I think this is in the Lands Between. There's a war going on, I think, between the various demigods as they've gone mad with power, and there's infighting and just this war and this tension between the different factions.
Oh, Elden Ring. Shattered by someone or something.
And let's see if I can get this dude. Yeah, that's a nice shot. I think, and I got some pushback on this, and who knows, I could be wrong. I think that this may not be just like a grunt, but I think this is like an unnamed person. This person isn't doing exactly a heroic task by getting the final stab on the big lad when he's already been stabbed and speared about 1,000,000 times, as we'll see. The armor is cool, and I hope they show up because they did not show up in the gameplay trailer. But I think this is another soldier in the Lands Between. And if anyone is a demigod here, I would think it is the big lad. And they're fighting against him from another faction led by another demigod, is what I am presuming. And yeah, so what did they just say? Let's go back a second.
Shattered.
So we still don't know who shattered the Elden Ring. We just know that it was shattered and the Great Runes were taken, and it's seemingly 6 Great Runes taken by the demigods. That's not for certain. We just know that there's like 6 main bosses who are these demigods. So it seems to make sense that there's 6 Great Runes, but we're not totally sure. And I think this imagery here is just shattering. And we see gold imagery all through this trailer too. And we now know that significance of gold as this golden aura. Everything about the lands between is about this gold. And, just as representing that blessing by the Elden Ring. And this blessing being shattered and removed, and the greater will sort of revoking their blessing that used to shine down on the lands between after the Elden Ring was shattered.
Don't tell me you don't see it. Look up at the sky.
It burns. So we see this angry sky once again, as I mentioned, the lands between the Air Tree, the Elden Ring. There used to be, the greater will shining down their grace upon the lands between. And I think, with the shattering, we're told in the Bamco story summary that sort of grace, that blessing has been removed. And I think the sky burning is sort of showing the greater will's potential anger or just the removal of that grace. And we see what is clearly now is, this gold, the aura coming out of the big lad. And, the fact that he is I think that is the aura, this blessing leaving him. And that doesn't necessarily mean he's dead, but it is coming out of these wounds. And that may tie into the fact that, life and death is broken now because of the shattering.
It burns.
And these blacksmith people are cracked too. So that's another thing about life just not working the right way. And it was interesting too there that all those pieces were sort of floating in a way that seemed unnatural. And when I talked about the gameplay trailer in my Elden Ring So Far episode 6 about the gameplay trailer overview, I took notice that in the what I call the canine column cemetery, where you see the fight between that one cool black armored wolf person and also the shot that sort of looks like the Golden Order symbol, that the rubble is just floating, sort of suspended. And I made the speculation that maybe that Golden Order thing means the presence of a great rune is nearby. And, I think with that dust, with the gold flakes sort of floating in the air and then falling in this shot as we just saw, that maybe that is also sort of means that there's a presence of a piece of the Elden Ring, or the presence of the Elden Ring in general is close by. And then withdrawn. Still slaps. Elden Ring. Out January 21st, 2022, in a mere 205 days. I hope you enjoyed watching the trailer with me, analyzing it with fresh eyes. It's nice to go back to it. Thank you for watching this with me on day 205 until Elden Ring comes out, and I will see you for the next Elden Wait.